everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you have not been here, my name is Landry and I am so excited to bring you a book haul today. So today's book haul is going to be a little bit different because first of all of these books that I have right here from my book haul are all thrifted. Over the past couple of months, I have just been more intentional on how I purchase my books, or I have been doing a lot of library reading through physical books at my local library or through the Libby app using audiobooks or books that I can put on my Kindle. Because of this haul right here, like I said, is going to be all thrifted. So some of these books are not going to look absolutely beautiful or perfectly brand new, and I am perfectly okay with that because I have really enjoyed the idea of purchasing books secondhand. Just being mindful of, okay, is this a book that I want to purchase and read, or is this something that maybe I want to try out and read free or in a cheaper way, and then if I love it, I can look for a special edition. So like the Throne of Glass series I'm going through right now, I don't own a single book of the Throne of Glass series. I've been reading it through my library or on the Libby app, and I have absolutely loved it, but I'm kind of waiting until I finish this series to be for sure that I'm gonna love it. I really think I am because like I said, I've loved it so much so far. But if I truly love it, I have been looking at some really special editions, like sprayed edges, beautiful covers, different things like that, instead of just buying the regular book that you see out there on Amazon or whatever. And so the other thing that's gonna be a little bit different is, if you haven't noticed, I have this little jar right here, and this jar contains prompts for each book that I go through. And what I mean by that is when I go to pick a book, I will draw a prompt and I have to kind of answer that prompt or go through that prompt or question with that book, because I am a rambler and there are a lot of books on this haul right here, and if I sit here and go through every single book and describe all the details or describe all my feelings or anything like that when it comes to these books, this book haul will probably be like 2 hours long. So this is kind of my way of helping me stay on task. Plus, I just thought it would be fun and different instead of just, oh, here are all the books and this is what they're about and I'm excited to read them and then move on. Like, this is just a fun idea. I thought I'd try to do it a little bit differently. Oh, before we get started with choosing the first prompt for the first book, these are color coded because I have 4 different categories that I created for the prompts that are in here. So the first category is first impression. It's just a question or a prompt that just is literally, what is your first impression of this book based on the cover or what you know. The second category is reader's hunch. This is kind of just like, what do I expect to get from this book? What is my prediction of this book? Just based on what I know, what do I think is going to happen in this book maybe? Third category is shelf's truth. And this is just kind of dealing with my TBR. Like, is this a book that's gonna go on my shelf and I'm gonna read immediately? Or is this a book that's going on my shelf and probably gonna sit there for a while? Or is this a book that I've already read and I'm just purchasing it because I loved it and I want a physical copy of it? It's Stephen King. And I will say some of these prompts I'm gonna have to put back in because I don't think I made enough prompts for like every single book, so we may see some repeat questions in here. Okay, the next one is green, and this is Reader's Hunch category. So it says, what kind of reader do you think will love this book the most? I really don't know anything about this book, and this is technically, I guess this is my first Stephen King book. I haven't wanted to read Stephen King because I am not a horror type person, and I feel like a lot of his books are geared more towards horror than kind of thriller or mystery. But I did find this one and I thought it was kind of interesting, and I had no idea he even had this type of book, like more of a old Western kind of vibe is what I'm getting. And so the type of reader that I think would love to read this is, I don't know why this comes to mind, but I feel like this would be a type of book that my grandpa would read, because I feel like he loves Old West and he was always watching Old West. I mean, he still does, you know, John Wayne movies. I don't know exactly what's going to happen in this. I don't even know if this is a mystery or horror kind of book. I don't believe it is from what I read. I don't know. I just picture like someone like John Wayne wanting to read this. And I know that's probably strictly based off the cover, but that's what I'm going for. That's probably a really ridiculous answer. Next book is Colleen Coble, Where Shadows Meet. Okay, we have another orange, which is First Impression. And it says, what is one thing about this cover that instantly caught your attention? Looking at the front of this, there's really not much to it. There's just a bridge of nothing, except I think it was more like the title is what caught my eye when I first saw this. And it just, I mean, I love Colleen Coble and I love the other books that I've read from her, but I just think the bridge, the shadow, the kind of opening at the end kind of gives you this feeling like, oh, it's going to be very mysterious, very not dark as in like scary horror type way, but dark as in just like suspenseful and intense. I did just notice though, on the front, I don't know if you can see, but there are actually two shadows of people, which is kind of eerie when I think about it. So that's going to be very interesting to see if like this setting or this picture actually takes a role in what this story is about. So the next book is Dragon Rider by Cornelia Funk. I love this edition and this like hardback cover. I think it's just absolutely beautiful. Oh, so this is blue, and blue is Shelf Truth, so dealing with TBR. It says, how soon do I think I will read this? If I'm being completely honest, I don't see myself reading this like really soon. I would love to read this in the fall, like put it maybe on my fall TBR or something like that. But if I'm being honest, there are a lot of other books that I have on my TBR that I really want to read in the fall and that I've had on my TBR for quite some time that I would kind of prefer to get to those first before getting to this. The reason that I picked this up at Half Price Books was because Inkheart is one of my favorite books that I did read as a young reader, and I had no idea that she had other books, and I also didn't even know that Inkheart was a series. I'm pretty sure it's a trilogy, but when I saw this, I was just immediately drawn to it because my Inkheart book is the exact same like format, and so I thought it would be a beautiful addition. This isn't one that I see myself reading super soon. I will say I will aim to read this fall, but if not, it'll just get read when it gets read. Okay guys, I have a bit of a issue, and some of these were ordered from Thrift Books, and then the other ones were actually bought from Half Price Books. I purchased my Thrift Books first, and then my husband and I went on a little trip, and I got to go to Half Price Books. That was where we were visiting, and I had made a list beforehand of books that I wanted to look for purposefully. I don't know what happened or went through my mind when I was making this list or when I was picking out the books at the actual store, but I purchased this book twice. I literally purchased it at Thrift Books online, knew that I had purchased it, and for some reason in my brain, I was thinking I did not have this book and purchased it again at Half Price Books. I really have no idea what happened. So I have two of these books now, and I gotta figure out which one is probably the better condition, even though honestly, both of them are in really excellent condition for being secondhand books. I just gotta figure out which one I'm gonna gonna sell and keep the other one now. Okay, so we have Blue again, which is Shelf Truths. And the question is, why did I pick this book? Well, the main reason is I've read the first one in this series. This is a trilogy, and I believe there is like a fourth book, or it's a novella. I'm not sure how it works. And I read the Inheritance Games, which is the first book in this trilogy, last fall or just last year sometime. And this has been on my wish list of purchasing for a long year. I believe that's how you say that last name. The next one is Blue, which is Shelf Truth. So dealing with TBR, it says, have you read anything by this author before, and does that affect when you will read it? I have not read a single thing by this author, but this has been another book that has been on my TBR forever. And I finally decided, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and purchase it at a cheaper price, and I need to get myself to reading it. Plus, I found out earlier this month that they are actually making this into a movie. And so I think that's why another reason why it got me to purchasing this, because I'm like, I want to read this if there's going to be a movie, because I do enjoy reading the books and then watching the film adaptations if it's something that I truly enjoyed. Now, if it's something that I don't really enjoy, or it's discussing things that I don't really care to physically see, then I'm probably not going to watch it. I have not read this author before. I'm really excited. I've heard really good things about this book though, and so I'm just excited to get to this, and then just excited to say that I've read the book and then watched the film adaptation. This next book is kind of random, but this book is The K by Theodore Taylor. So the reason I chose this book is because this is another book that I read growing up. I think it was 4th or 5th grade, something like that, that it was a required reading. And from what I remember, I really did enjoy this book, even though I didn't care for required reading. But it's one that I'm like, I want it as a nostalgia read and give it another chance and see how I like it now that I'm more into reading. So this is Green, which is Reader's Hunch, and it says, what's the biggest twist or surprise this book might have? Now, I have read this, so I can't necessarily say what I think is going to happen because I kind of already know what's going to happen. However, last time I read this was years and years and years ago, so I don't remember exactly what happened, but I do believe that we're just going to go with, I'm just going to come up with something based on what I know and what I remember. I believe that the biggest twist or something that's going to happen that you're not necessarily expecting is that they're gonna meet someone random on this island. I could be completely wrong, and I may be saying that because I feel like that's what happened, but I don't remember for sure. But I feel like that's gonna be something that's gonna happen. Next book is The Best Summer of Our Lives Lives by Rachel Hawk. This is a book that I have already read. I just wanted to have a physical copy of it because I really did enjoy this book. Okay, this is green, which is Reader's Hunch. So this is gonna be kind of interesting to answer. It says, do you think this will be more escape read or a reflective read? So because I've already read this, I will answer this truthfully. This is definitely a more reflective type read. I don't feel this is the type of book that you go to escape. You can in a way from what happens, but just the beauty of friendships and like God's grace that is shown through this book, this is definitely a book that will give you the opportunity to kind of reflect on maybe own things in your life, or just allow their stories to be examples in your life to help you maybe eventually reflect on different things. And so this is a beautiful story about hope and faith and friendships and just what that entails of going through life with relationships, of friendships, and maybe even dating relationships. But this is definitely a more reflective read, not an escape read. We have another nostalgia read of when I was in my elementary years. So this is Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell. So again, I've read this, but it's been a really long time. Okay, so this one is red, which is setting the scene, so kind of the atmosphere. And this says, if this book were a type of song or music, what would it be? I don't know why I put this prompt in here because I really don't like these kind of questions because I'm always terrible. But if I had to choose the type of music, I can't specifically say a song, but the type of music, I feel like it would be like an adventure slash relaxing ambiance that you get. Like what I'm thinking of is like whenever I like to sit and just read in a cozy spot, and I like to put on like an ambiance on YouTube in the background, and there's like beach ones that I put on. I feel like it's that, but it's also like a mixture of adventure with like not really fantasy, because it's not necessarily a fantasy book, but just adventure slash beach wave ambiance setting. I don't really know what kind of music that would be, like the genre it would be. I guess it would just be adventure instrumental type music. Like there would be no words. There's no lyrics or anything like that in the song. I don't know. That's the best I can do. This next one is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. I'm not sure. I know absolutely nothing about this book except that it sounded kind of interesting and I liked the cover. This next one is, I believe, no, it's red. So this is setting the scene category, and it says, where do I imagine myself reading this? Okay, I love this one just because.
Have you already started?
Yeah.
Sorry.
What do you need?
I was gonna grab my cup.
Yeah, you can grab it. Back to what I was saying. So the question was again, where do I imagine myself reading this? So based on what I know, this is a fantasy read, and I picture myself like reading this probably as quickly as possible this fall. And this is one of those that I feel like this is the perfect, if I'm correct from what I remember, this is like the perfect October read. I picture myself sitting in my little reading area, all cozied up with my blankets, and then putting on an ambiance that's more like kind of Halloween spooky, not like scary, but like just that kind of spooky vibe feeling or ambiance. That's what I picture myself doing. That's where I picture myself reading this. So the next one is The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. So this is orange. This is first impression. The question says, what's a quick summary of what I think this book is about? Well, I've already read this book, so I'll just give you the rundown. It says, before Owen Michaels disappears, he smuggles a note to his beloved wife of 1 year, and all the note says is protect her. And it's basically talking about his daughter, which is her stepdaughter, and they kind of go on this adventure of why he disappears, because all of these different things start happening, and she's trying to figure out like, where did he go or why did he disappear? And more information is starting to pop up, and she's starting to learn some things about this man that was her husband that she had no idea was a thing. And then the daughter is kind of going on this adventure with her because her job, the only thing that he left for her to do, is protect her. I loved this book, and this would be a book I would reread like right now, because even though I know it's a mystery slash thriller and like I already know what happens and I know the ending, it was a really good read and I loved it, and I would love to read it again. There is also a film adaptation. It's like a short series, I don't remember what it's on, that me and my husband watched later down the road when I figured out there was a film adaptation. I had no idea at first. This was just kind of a random find. The series actually did really good too with keeping to what happens in the book. I think there were a few things that were a little changed or shortened, but that's typically how it goes when it comes to film adaptations. But anyways, loved this book, would reread it again. So we're gonna kind of put all these back in here and remix it. So the next one is The Wives by Taryn Fisher. Question is green, so this is a reader's hunch. I do not know anything about this book except that it's been on my TBR for a long time. And it says, what is the biggest twist or surprise this book might have? Not really predicting, but just thinking of what I think is going to happen is I feel like there is a wife in this situation, in this story, that actually knows about the other wives. Well, let me read because I may be saying that because that's what I read. Okay, this is why I'm saying that, is because the back of the book, the synopsis literally says, you've never met the other wives. None of you know each other. Because of this unconventional arrangement, you can see your husband only one day a week, but you love him so much you don't care, or at least that's what you've told yourself. That's why I'm saying that, is because they do know that the other wives exist, but they're trying to figure out maybe what's going on. And it says, but one day while you're doing laundry, you find a scrap of paper in his pocket, an appointment reminder for a woman named Hannah, and you know it's another one of the wives. Okay, that's right, yeah. And so you were fine with the arrangement. So I think it's like this wife is kind of okay with this because she loves her husband. She's never really thought about it, but it's almost like you put a name to these other women that are out there, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, maybe this does bother me. She's tracking down who Hannah is and like trying to figure out who she is and maybe, I don't know, figure out some things. I think there's going to be some kind of twist that, and maybe this is just me thinking Frida McFadden, but it's almost like I feel like the husband is gonna end up not being the bad guy like we think. Maybe that's just me. That's just the hunch I'm feeling. Like, that's what's gonna happen. Like, there's actually someone else causing all of this. It's not the husband. Next one, Catherine Center, The Bodyguard. I love this book so much. It's a book I've already read. I love this book, and I'm so glad that I was able to find one on Thrift Books that is in actually beautiful, like I would think that this is a brand new book. It's in really, really good condition. Question is blue, which is Shelf's Truth. Says, why did I pick this? So like I said, I've already read this. That was really why I picked it. I loved this book. It was 5 stars and I wanted a physical copy of it. So that was really why I picked this. I guess the reason why I picked it beforehand was because I've heard really good things about Catherine Center and her books, and I just wanted to read one of her books finally and be able to just read one of her books to say I've read one of her books and just see if I like it, and then if I do, you know, maybe look into others of her books. Oh, it was so good. Next one is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Okay, it's blue. So this is Shelf's Truth. It says, oh, have you read anything by this author before, and does that affect when you will read it? No, I have not read Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've just heard so many good things about Taylor Jenkins Reid, and so many people are raving about her new book, The Atmosphere, whatever it's called. And I'm not trying to like jump on the wagon of Taylor Jenkins Reid, but I really want to just kind of get on the bandwagon of reading her books. And I think it's because her books, from what I understand, are more kind of literary fiction, I believe. So it's not necessarily like romance or fantasy or anything like that. Like, it's a lot of it, if I'm correct, is like character building, or it's like more character driven. And maybe that's just Carrie Soto is back. Maybe that's not how the other ones are. Maybe that's not how this one is. This one may be more mystery thriller. Anyways, really excited about it. And then my final book, which is, I don't know what is in this book, but it is like heavy. But this is Once Upon a Dream by Liz Braswell. Battery died, had to change that really quick. I have so many interruptions in this video, so I have no idea what I just said, so I'm just going to start over. But the question is red, so it's setting the scene, and the question is the question, if this book were a type of music or song, what would it be? And I can actually answer that question for this one, because I would literally say Once Upon a Dream by Lana Del Rey, if that's how you say her name correctly. The version of Once Upon a Dream, the song from the Maleficent movie, that is exactly what I feel like is on repeat playing this song, because this is a twisted retelling of Sleeping Beauty. What if Sleeping Beauty never woke up? I'm just so excited to read this, and I wanted to get this one first because Sleeping Beauty is my favorite princess of all time, and so I wanted to get this one first, and if I did enjoy it, then I'm gonna work on getting the other ones from the other stories like Snow White and Ariel, and they have all the other different ones. I don't remember exactly how many they have or which ones they have. So that is my stack of thrifted, already loved secondhand books. Really excited to get into all these or just have the physical copy of the ones that I have already read. If you have read any of these or have any thoughts on these, let me know below which ones you love, or if you are a thrifter like me, what are some of the best finds that you have found when it comes to thrifting online or going to used bookstores. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this game style book haul. It was so fun going through all of these books and answering these prompts with you. I will see you soon next time we do some more bookish chats, and hopefully maybe talk about some of these predictions or things that I talked about in this in the future. But until next time, peace out.